the question is, we've done set one.
Do you feel more in love with me, Liam? Perfect non-monogamous day, jumping on a plane, flying to another city, nice stroll around. I like walking and talking.
I was still trying to impress you, and so something so embarrassing like that, it was brutal.
My name is Abbey, and I'm the voice behind the Evolving Love Project. In this podcast, my husband and I deep dive into the topics of non-monogamy and polyamory, drawing from our experiences of being consensually non-monogamous for almost a decade.
And my name is Liam. Whether you're monogamous, polyamorous, curious, or anything in between, we invite you to join us for this conversation.
Let's begin.
So on today's episode, we are going to be discussing the 36 questions that lead to love, which is actually from a New York Times article that was published in 2015. And it's based on a study by the psychologist Arthur Aaron, who essentially found 36 questions that when couples ask these questions to each other, apparently it makes them fall in love with each other.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Well, I'm already in love with you, so how's that going to work for us?
We'll see. Maybe we'll fall even more deeply and madly in love, thanks to the New York Times.
Well, I like to think that there's always something new to learn about each other, so I'm very excited about this. But also, I do want to say, you were on a date a while ago, and your date she suggested a similar thing. I think you were at a restaurant and she had organize a question game or something for the two of you, which is a very sweet date idea.
It was a very sweet date idea, and it was at this beautiful bar in Canberra, and kind of very early on in the date, she'd mentioned in the lead up to the date, I have a fun game to play with you on the date. And I thought, this is exciting. And when we got into the date, very early on, she said, okay, I've got a game, and it's all based around questions. And I've never, this is the first time this has ever happened on a date. And initially, I must admit, I was like, oh, okay, that's a different kind of vibe. But then it was so much fun, and I got into it so immediately, and it was such a great way to get to know someone. I was like, this is incredible. And it reminded me, because this has been out for ages and lots of people have talked about these 36 questions before. And I thought, okay, well, maybe this is something that could be fun to do with Abbey. So why not do it on the podcast?
Look, another benefit from dating people, we get some cool ideas for ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So when you were on this date, can I just bring it back? Were the questions on her phone, or was it a card? Did she have cards? And I can say the place. Were you sitting in Bar Rockford and she brings out this card game for you to play, or she's on the phone?
Well, she'd set up a projector screen and she was projecting the questions onto the wall. No, she, I should explain more of what the game was, because the game was different to the 36 questions.
Oh, okay.
So the game was, we were allowed to ask each other any question at all.
Wow. Just anything.
Just anything. Now, it sounds pretty daunting, but it gets pretty, and obviously you're on a date, and this was our first kind of proper date. So I felt that, there's obviously a leaning, the questions are fun, but eventually, if you're doing this enough, you start to ask some really interesting questions, about relationship histories and what you're into and what you're not into. And it's just this amazing way to get to know someone very quickly, and also figure out a roadmap to potential date and dating success, which was really fun. And it made me think, when I was doing it with her, we've actually talked about, I don't know if you remember this, but we've actually talked about the 36 questions that lead to love. And you've told me before that I'm not allowed to do this game with any other women.
When did I say that?
Do you remember saying that?
Look, that is definitely something that I would have said for sure.
I think it would have been...
Was I premenstrual?
Quite, yeah, looping back to our last, one of our previous episodes on PMS. I don't remember if you were premenstrual, but I do remember thinking, yeah, that's fair enough. Because apparently these New York Times questions, if you do it, you will fall in love with someone, which seems...
That's a little bit isn't that a bit presumptuous?
It is a bit presumptuous.
So
well, they're
are
not
they-
saying, they're not guaranteeing you'll fall in love, but they're saying that this will make you fall more into someone.
Look, I understand that. Getting to know somebody, you need to get into it. You can't be falling in love with anybody who you're having boring surface chat with.
Exactly.
You need to go deeper.
You've got
All
to
right,
go deeper.
I'm curious.
Okay, so with all that preamble out of the way,
Are we doing them in order?
okay, so the way this these kind of questions work is that there's 3 different sets.
Hang
Now-
on, Liam.
No, I know. We're not having a 33-hour podcast. So what we're going to do is we're going to do set 1.
What happens to people listening to us? Are they going to fall in love with us if they listen to our answers?
Ooh, I didn't even think about this. Are we giving everyone the cheat codes too?
I think maybe we're giving everything away. Maybe we'll just answer a few conversation prompts. We need to
Okay.
keep some of this for ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Let's
can't share
introduce the rule.
everything.
Let's introduce the rule that we can veto a question.
Okay, we can veto a question, but
Yeah.
also knowing that we are having this conversation and there will be an audience, are we going to change what we say? Because of course there's certain things that I would only share with you that I wouldn't share with everybody.
Okay. So that is a very valid point, and it's a very legitimate concern.
Like, how authentic can we be?
Well, we shall leave that out to the audience to decide whether they can detect any dodgy behavior.
Yeah, cool. And then it kind of becomes one of those games where it's like, are we telling the truth or not?
Okay, so this is a multi-layered podcast experiment.
Okay. I like the idea of vetoing questions.
Okay, but I'm down for the veto, but I must say that the sets kind of increase in intensity.
Uh-oh.
So in set 3, it gets pretty intense, and I think those are the questions that I don't think we'd basically veto every answer.
Okay.
But the set 1, there's some great questions.
Let's keep it light.
It's going to keep it light.
Keep it light.
And we can also maybe put a non-monogamous twist on some of the questions.
Love it.
But we'll get to that when they come. So
Through the non-monogamous lens.
okay, so the first, and we'll, who knows? The first set has 12 questions.
Okay.
We
I'm
might-
getting
we-
nervous.
we
My
might
heart's
only-
starting to beat.
I know. Well, I'm trying to build the anticipation.
Oh, gosh.
Do you feel the anticipation?
Yeah, my heart
building?
is like actually beating right now. I'm nervous because I've never looked at the questions.
I know. So
All I've said is you're not allowed to do this with other people. It's clearly problematic on my end.
yeah. Okay. So and I have looked through the questions, which is why I'm not that nervous.
Okay.
If that makes you feel any better.
Hang on. Are we going to take it in turns to ask each other, or are you like running the show?
No, I think we should both. Maybe you answer first.
Okay.
And then I'll give my answer. And then for the next question, we'll flip it.
Okay.
Keep us on our toes.
All right.
Okay, you ready?
So this is for me. Okay.
So this is going to be for you.
Oh, God.
Okay. Now, this is a classic party question.
Okay.
Okay, so we're easing it in.
Okay.
Given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? So this is one person, as opposed to the common party thing is like, if you can have 5 people at the dinner table, which is always like, there's too much choice. But this is one person. If you could choose anyone in the world, who would you want as a dinner guest?
Okay. So, well, I'm going to have to answer this question in like what sort of stage or interests I'm, in. Hang on.
Okay, we're gonna have
No.
dinner tonight. And this person, even if they're somewhere across the other end of the world,
Yeah.
they're going to fly in. If they're overseas, they might, they might live next door. Who knows? We got great next door neighbors.
Okay.
But that's the prompt.
Okay. Well, look, I'm without putting pressure on myself and having to choose this dinner guest that it's like, the one shot in my life and,
Yep.
Reflective of like everything I've ever been the most interested in or whatever. I'm going to just go with what my sort of, what I've been getting into recently. What I've been getting into recently is like documentaries and books and information on deep space,
Ooh.
which I just love. I
Okay.
just like love the universe and the expansiveness and black holes and all of the unanswered questions. And so I think I'd like to get Brian Cox.
Oh, okay.
I've also kind of got the hots for him a little bit.
I mean, he's a hottie. He's definitely a hottie.
I mean, the way he talks about like universe and the life and like how we're just like stardust and there's like black holes and like all this stuff. Like, what a mind. What a guy.
So you've doubled up not only a dinner date, but a potential date as well.
Well,
I mean, that's a smart move, really.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a date that could
totally.
extend. And then actually, if the date continued to extend, you could continue to ask, like, imagine the pillow talk afterwards. You could be like, oh, was that like, did that feel extraterrestrial to you?
oh my gosh, I know. Well, yeah, well, we'd have to see what would happen. But I just find him really fascinating and I love like listening to him on podcasts and on like videos on YouTube and stuff. So
Brian Cox.
I know.
Lock it in.
He's just like really cool.
Okay, let's go.
So yeah, but now I feel pressure because I'm like, maybe like he just came to mind, but I think that's because I've been, you know, I'm following along with that and it's like my late night, you know, in the dead of night when everyone's asleep and I'm just like Googling like the universe stuff. So yeah, but maybe next month he would not be my answer.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
Well, I think you should definitely have him over for dinner because I don't know how much I could contribute to the conversation. It's not really my expertise.
Look, now I'm thinking about it. I'm like,
you can't change.
No, I'm thinking how could we like, what's the like polyamorous spin on like the universe to like get him on the podcast one day, you know? Now I'm like plotting and planning.
Well,
like,
we
how
are
can we
all
get
matter and we're
all just
atoms
stardust.
just clashing into each other. Why not take our pants off?
Why can't I like mix my stardust with like a few other extra pieces of stardust? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, okay, we'll work on the pitch. We'll work on the pitch. Okay, Brian, we're coming for you. Well, Abbey is more specifically.
oh, it makes me think about actually a dinner date we had recently
Yeah?
with a friend.
Oh, yes.
Who is
A
a long-term. If you want to keep listening to this conversation, you can sign up for premium access at evolvingloveproject.substack.com. Link will be in the show notes.
This is a listener-supported podcast, and premium subscribers will receive 2 extra premium podcasts a month that dive deeper into our own personal experiences and extra goodies.
If you want to find out more about my interest in dating Brian Cox and black holes, navigating language barriers at a sex party, and more, you can subscribe at our Substack.